Hello.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. In the last class, we were discussing about calculation of the immediate settlement. So this is the sum I have given. I hope everybody has noted down. So let me take a note of it. So Vemula Maunika. Yeah, could you please explain the answer, what we were discussing in the last class, so that I can aware what is your understanding. Vemula Maunika. Vodapalli Kalyan. So you people are simply logged in and going away somewhere. Trilok Madhukar Sinde. Not available online. Ratna Shaili.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So please. Could you kindly throw a light on what we are discussing and what is your understanding and progress on the problem?
Like by using the graph, we have find that strain factors, sir.
So among these two, which one shall we use?
And by using that strain factor, we will find out that immediate settlement. Yes, sir.
Very good. But there are two curves that are available.
C1 and C2.
No. Among these two curves, suppose
Yes,
we
sir.
get. So which one are you going to use?
L by B is less than, like L by B is equal to 1.
Since this is a square rooting, so we are going to use L by B is equals to 1. Okay. Very good. So this is the step I was discussing. So first you need to select between these two predefined curves. One is corresponding to L by B of equal to 1 and L by B of greater than or equal to 10. Very good, thank you. Yeah, Tanusri.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Were you able to solve the problem?
Hello.
Yeah, Tanusri. Please.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, I joined just now. There was some network issues.
That's okay, no problem. We had just started discussing about that one.
Yes.
So
Okay.
in the last class, we were discussing about how to calculate the immediate settlement using strain influence factor method. So
Yes.
could you able to explain? First of all, did you note down the sum or not? Sundi Satish Kumar. Not available. Sheikh Abdul Arshad. available. Sweta,
Yes, sir.
yes, please. Could you?
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, there are two curves now, sir. We took the curve which is in which L by B is equal to 1, and then we divide it into some layers based on the value of QC. And in the last layer, as it's more depth, like from 6.5 to 12, so we divide it into two sub layers.
Yep, true.
Finally, sir, till there, in last class we have discussed. Sir.
Okay, very good. So this slide we were discussing about in the last class,
Yes,
as you
sir.
rightly said.
Yes,
So
sir.
the first thing is that you need to select between those two graphs corresponding to L by B equal to 1 and L by B greater than or equal to 10. So we have picked up a graph corresponding to L by B equal to 1 because it is a given square footing. So for L by B equal to 1, so the free diagram is defined such that the Z equals to 0 starts right at the foundation level where the influence factor value is 0.1, and it slowly increases and reaches a value of maximum 0.5 at a depth of 0.5 b or b by 2, and from the maximum it continuously decreases and reaches to 0, the strain influence factor value, at a depth of 2 times of b, that is 7 meter as is shown here. Now from the foundation level, which is considered as Z is equals to 0, and at a depth of 2 times of b, which is considered as Z is equals to 7 meter. So you can divide from 0 to 7 meter into so many number of layers. Here in this case, I have divided this into 4 number of layers, but again I repeat, you don't need to confine to 4 number of layers. You can divide them into more number of layers depending upon your wish. More are the number of layers, more is the accuracy. So then identify thickness of each layer, delta Z1, delta Z2, delta Z3, delta Z4, and also superimpose on each layer the value of the cone penetration resistance, that is QC, that is 10,000 for layer 1, 8,000 for layer 2, and 12,000 for layer 3 and 4. So in the sum, it is also given the empirical equation between elastic modulus versus QS, that is 2 times of Q. So I will also repeat, you need to remember these predefined curves for the exam purpose. It will not be given in the exam. Okay, similarly, when you calculate the bearing capacity also, all those equations which includes bearing capacity factors, not bearing capacity factors, they will be given, but shape factor, depth factor, etc., you need to remember in the exam. Okay, so only those things you need to remember, nothing else. Okay, so having constructed the strain influence diagram and superimposed on it the values of the QC as well as the division of 0 to 7 meter into so many number of layers, the next step is to calculate the different parameter values, that is C1 and C2. C1 is accounting for footing depth. C1 can be calculated as 1 minus 0.5 into sigma naught dash by Q net. Sigma naught dash you need to calculate, and sigma naught dash effective overburden pressure at foundation level, which is nothing but 3 multiplied by 16. And C2, which accounts for creep effect. The formula for C2 is 1 plus 0.2 into log T by 0.1. In our sum, you are asked to calculate after 6 years what would be the creep settlement or immediate settlement. So here T is 6 years and T shall be taken in years. And the next important factor is Q net. So Q gross has been given, that is 2000 kilonewton. So divide this by the area, what you get is Q net. You can directly take without deducting the overburden pressure. Yes, please.
Sir, for different layers, this net foundation pressure will be different, or we have to take same?
Now we have to take same. because if you look at this equation, it is same, na? It is a common value. Only Iz, delta Z and E shall be taken differently for different layers, because this is a summation. This is a summation. So calculate the Q net, that is load divided by the area minus overburden pressure. Even if you do not remove the overburden pressure, still okay. So there is no issue. Then this is the table that you need to prepare when you solve this kind of the problems. First, layer number 1. So we have divided the 0 to 7 meter into 4 number of layers. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Depth is 3 to 4.75. Let me show so that we will not be having any confusion. So the foundation level is considered as 0. So here from the ground surface, this is at a depth of I think 3.75 meter. 3.75 meter as per 3 meter only, sorry. So this is 3 meter. Foundation level is at a depth of 3 meter and ending at 4 meter. Layer number 1 4.75. First layer is ending at 3 to 4.75 and second layer is starting at 4.75 ending at 6.5. So second layer, layer number 2, starting at 4.75 and ending at 6.5. Layer number 3, starting at 6.5, ending at 8.25 something, 8.25. And fourth layer, 8.25 and ending at 10. So here he has divided 4 layers into 4 layers of equal thickness. 4 layers of equal thickness. It could be unequal also, so don't get confused again. Everything is allowed. So delta Z is nothing but thickness of each layer. Thickness of each layer. That is 3 minus 4.75, that is 1.75. 6.5 minus 4.75, 1.75. 8.25 minus 6.5, 1.75. 10 minus 8.25, that is 1.75. So this is how you need to calculate the delta Z, because this delta Z is required to feed in the last equation, that is summation of Iz by Es into delta Z. So now identification of delta Z is over. Now another important factor is Young's modulus of the soil, that is Es. Given in the sum, the empirical relationship between Es and QC, that is 2 times of QC. So QC for different layers, let's see again to avoid the confusion. Layer number 1 QC is 10,000, layer number 2 8,000, 3 and 4 it is 12,000. So layer number 1 10,000, 8,000, 12,000 and 12,000. Some of you please mute your mic. Manish. Okay.
Sir,
So,
can you tell what is Q net once again?
Q net means, suppose say here a grass load of 2000 kilonewton is applied at the foundation level. When you construct any footing, initially you excavate. Here the excavation is done up to a depth of 3 meter. Okay, so that means 3 multiplied by 16. So this much weight of the soil is initially removed. Then a footing is constructed. Again 3 into 16. If not 3 exactly, some depth lesser than 3 multiplied by 16 is refilled.
Okay.
Okay, so identify the value of QC corresponding to each layer, then multiply with the 2, then you will get ES value. So ES for layer number 1 is 20,000, 8 multiplied by 2 16,000, 12 multiplied by 2 24 and 24,000. Now one of the important steps in this problem is how to calculate the strain influence factor, that is Iz. Now For layer number 1, it is 0.3. So let us try to understand how to get this value. Once you are understanding this one, the whole sum can be understood. First, let us take the layer 1. So the layer 1, the starting value is 0.1 and ending value is 0.5. 0.5. So usually the ij is picked up at the middle of the each layer. The ij for each layer is picked up at its middle. So here the thickness of the layer number 1 is 1.75 meter. At its middle is 1.75 by 2. So this is 1.75 divided by 2. 1.75 divided by 2. So whatever the value it comes. Now if you look at the variation of ij, the top value at 0 is 0.1, at a depth of 1.75 is 0.5. But we require the ij value at the middle of the layer 1, that is 1.75 by 2. So for that purpose, you need to interpolate between 0.1 and 0.5. So if you interpolate, what value you get is approximately 0.3. 0.3. So if anybody has any question, please ask me. So this is one of the important steps in this sum. If you don't understand this one, you can't able to calculate the settlements. Ij means strain influence factor at the middle of the each layer. At the middle of the each layer. So this has to be calculated by interpolating between top and bottom values. So in the first layer, the top is 0.1 and the bottom is 0.5. So if you interpolate, you will get 0.3. Now for the second layer, layer number 2, so it is starting at a depth of 4.75 and ending at a depth of 6.5. At a depth of 6.5. So this is the layer number 2. So layer number 2. So the maximum value for layer number 2 is 0.5 and the minimum value is not known. The minimum value is not known. So you have to determine this minimum value by interpolation again. So first you interpolate between 0.5 and 0. Then again at the middle, again you need to interpolate the value. At the middle of this layer, again you need to interpolate it. So that will be taken as ij. So if you do the interpolation between 0.5 and at the bottom of that at a depth of 6.5 meter, what you will get ij is 0.416. 0.416. Now, in order to avoid any kind of a mistake, one thing you should understand is the maximum value of ij is 0.5 only. So whatever the values that you get, so those should be lesser than 0.5. Those should be lesser than 0.5. So by the interpolation between 0.5 and the bottom of the layer number 2, what you will get is ij value of layer number 2, 0.416. Similarly, for layer number 3, ij means strain influence factor at the middle of the layer number 3. At the middle of the layer number 3. So for this purpose also, you can interpolate between top and bottom values. Top and bottom values. Or alternatively, you can also interpolate between 0.5 and 0. 0.5 and 0 because you know the depth. You know the depth. So what you get is approximately between 0.2 and 0.3. So between 0.2 and 0.3. So that value is 0.249. 0.249. Similarly, for layer number 4, so this is at a depth of 6.25. This is at a depth of 6.25 something at the middle of the layer number 4. So here also you need to interpret between 0.5 and 0, 0.5 and 0. So at a depth of 1.75 meter, it is 0.5. At a depth of 7 meter, it is 0. That what would be the value at a depth of 6.75, 6.25? What would be the value of the strain influence factor at a depth of 6.25 meter? So interpolate and obtain the value. So in this case, what you will get is 0.08. So once this calculation is done, the interpolation is one of the critical steps in calculation of the immediate settlement by using the strain influence factor method. Once Iz is known, now almost every parameter is known. So calculate the summation of Iz by Es into delta Z. Iz is known for each and every layer. Es is known for each and every layer. Delta Z is known for each and every layer. So calculate the product of Iz by Es into delta Z and sum it up. So what you will get is 9.625 into 10 power minus 5. So this is what is to be known. Once this value is known, this is the final equation: C1 C2 Q net summation of Iz by E into delta Z. So I know now the summation is 9.625 into 10 power minus 5. C1 is 0.792 and C2 is 1.356. Q net is 115. Q net is 115. So substitute into the equation. So this is C1, this is C2, and this is Q net, and this is the summation. So calculate or multiply all these parameters, then what you will get is the immediate settlement. So which is calculated as 11.91 millimeter. 11.91 millimeter. Okay. So this is the whole lot of a procedure that shall be used for the calculation of the immediate settlement.
Sir,
Yep.
sir, can't we, sir, it is a summation, so can't we use integration, sir, for that product of IZ and delta Z? So since
Product
we
of,
have the modulus of, yeah, so we can integrate also by layer and layer.
yeah, you can do it, no issue. In fact, it same thing, you can do it, no issue.
Same answers will
Okay.
come, sir. It is a straight line, no, sir.
It is
Nothing
straight
won't
line.
change.
Yes, yes,
It
yes.
will be same answer, sir.
Yes, that is true. As long as you are satisfying that curve, equation of curve, there is no problem. Okay. So any questions in this sum? So anywhere you thought that I did not understand properly, where I can emphasize.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, will Q net depend upon the groundwater table? In any case, groundwater table is at the surface,
Yeah.
at the
Suppose
ground surface. Then Q net
suppose
will
if the
be Q
groundwater
gross.
table is at the ground surface, then your 16 will become 16 minus 9.81.
Sir, but load is not a property of the soil. So how it will change? It should be 16 into 3. If bearing capacity would have been, the bearing capacity would have been changed for this. If gross is given for bearing,
Overburden
but
also,
for
sir,
load, how it will
what?
change?
No. See, try to understand carefully. What do you mean by 3 into 16 here? What it represents?
Overburden pressure.
The weight of the total soil. Overburden, etc. is a terminology that you are using. But what is the physical meaning of all these parameters? Because he is asking a very good question. So to answer that one, you need to understand the physical meaning of each and every term. See, for example, when I say gamma dry, so it represents that there is no water in it. That means it is the weight of the soil per cubic meter. It is approximately 16 kilonewton is the weight of the soil if you take 1 cubic meter of the dry soil. But the same soil, if you saturate it, that means you are adding the water, then its weight is increased from 16 to 18. Okay, so this additional weight is the component of water. Say for example, if the groundwater table is on the surface, the effective weight becomes only that weight which is under submerged condition. So this is what we are understanding. So from the soil mechanics. Is it clear?
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir,
No, if it,
sir,
yeah.
sir, if water table is at ground level, sir, so will we take the effective pressure as overburden pressure or that total pressure?
If the groundwater table is at the surface, actually, in fact, you need to take the effective, not the total one.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Note down the another sum. So the previous sum talks about the immediate settlement calculation. Yeah.
Sir, in case of if the groundwater table is at surface, sir, while finding net pressure, what we
Yeah.
have to subtract? We have to take dry unit weight or
Whatever the weight that they will give.
sir,
See,
means
if
we have to take a submerged unit weight or dry unit weight while
sub,
finding unit.
it will be submerged only, na?
Okay.
First of all, when the water table is there, it is no more dry. Your first condition is whenever the soil
Means
exists
we have to
below the
take
water,
saturated or submerged.
it shall be saturated.
Okay.
Okay, so never ever represent any soil which is below the water table with the gamma dry. It is always saturated. It's always saturated. But when you take the effective, then there it goes submerged. That is a different ballgame. Okay, but logically, if anybody is asking, how do you represent gamma above and below water table? Your very simple answer is, if again remember, the soil above the groundwater table also can become the gamma sat. Okay, saturation is different than the water table. Below the water table, by default, it is saturated, fully saturated. Above the water table also, it could be dry or it could be saturated. Saturated means all the voids are filled with the water, but it is not water table. Say for example, right above the water table, if it is a clay, because of the capillary action that you have understood in your soil mechanics, capillary pressure, if you remember. Okay, so because of this capillary action, some thickness of the soil by default will become saturated. It is no more in dry condition. You can never ever anticipate a condition like, suppose if this is the water table, right above is the whole soil is dry. No, that is not possible. A few inches or few centimeters is always in saturated condition because of the capillary action. So this you should not ignore. But since accounting for such intricate things are not possible, normally what people will do is they normally represent the entire layer with the gamma dry. That's it.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yep.
Sir, Parth Sharma has lost his connection and he isn't able to join again. Can you let him in?
Yeah. So just note down another sum. So this now we have to understand about how to calculate the consolidation settlement. So ignore the immediate settlement and calculate the total consolidation settlement of soil profile composed of two different types of clay, clay 1 and clay 2, due to 150 kilopascals net foundation load take unit weight of water as 10 kilonewton per cubic meter and assume that Skempton Biserram correction factor is mu is equal to 0.7 for both clay layers. Note that sigma C dash, or this is pre-consolidation pressure, is sigma C dash is the pre-consolidation pressure. So here the size of the footing is 10 meter by 10 meter. Q net acting on the soil is 150. Well, again I repeat, this Q net is coming from the column side, not from the soil side. Pressure of 150 kilopascals. Pressure of 150 kilopascals is coming onto the soil due to the column load. This is not the soil bearing pressure. Okay, so the depth of the foundation is 2 meter. That is also clay, and beneath the foundation level, the thickness of the clay layer is 6 meter, and which is underlain or overlain by another clay layer that is 6 meter. So clay layer 1 is overlain on clay layer number 2. So both the layer thickness is 6 meter and 6 meter. So the properties of these two layers has been given. Here gamma dry 19 kilonewton per cubic meter. This is pertinent to the soil above the water table. Gamma sat below the water table. CR is recompression index, which is obtained from the consolidation graph. CC is compression index, that is 0.15. E0 initial void ratio 0.8. Sigma C dash 80 kilopascals. That is pre-consolidation pressure. And for layer number 2, gamma sat is 20 kilonewton per cubic meter. Recompression index is 0.03. Compression index is 0.1. E0 is 0.6, and pre-consolidation pressure is 200 kilopascals. So you are asked to calculate the consolidation settlement. So can I go to the next slide? So first of all, you need to understand what is the equation that you need to use it when you talk about the consolidation settlement. So this is the equation. There are two variety of equations that I have shown in one of the previous classes. One is for normally consolidated soil, and next is for over consolidated soil. So in this sum, you have been given both recompression index and compression index and sigma C also. It indicates that this soil is over consolidated. So when the soil is over consolidated, then the equation for calculating the consolidation settlement SC1D, C designates consolidation settlement, 1D represents it is 1D consolidation, and this is the equation. CR, suppose if I draw your equation, that consolidation graph for E versus log sigma, so this has dual linearity or bilinear in nature. So where the middle is called as a sigma C, and here it is CR, and here it is CC. So your first term represents slope of the first equation or the first linear line, while the second represents the slope of the second linear line. And the upper and lower boundaries are, so this is sigma naught dash and this is sigma C. As you can see, log sigma C dash by sigma V naught dash, that is between sigma C and sigma V naught dash. And so this is sigma V dash F, that is final. And if you look at the other slope equation, that is sigma f dash and sigma c dash. So this is the difference means sigma f minus sigma y is nothing but delta y, and sigma c minus sigma naught is again delta y. So delta x is the E naughting a void ratio, that is delta E. Delta E. So I hope it is clear to everyone how to derive the equations for consolidation settlement. So if it is over consolidated or if it is normally consolidated. So the equation for consolidation settlement is CR by 1 plus E naught. E naught for layer number 1 and layer number 2 both has been given. CR and E naught. H is thickness of the each layer. H is the thickness of the each layer. So here for first layer it is 6 meter, and for second layer also it is 6 meter. Both are same. Then sigma C naught. So sigma C naught is pre-consolidation pressure, and sigma V naught is initial effective overburden pressure. So you need to calculate sigma V naught, that is initial effective overburden pressure, at the middle of the each layer. At the middle of the each layer. And similarly sigma dash VF, so this you need to calculate. So based on the load that is applied, that is 150. So let us look at how it has been calculated. So this is the curve, void ratio versus the applied stress, void ratio versus applied stress. So initial effective overburden stress sigma V naught. Sigma V naught. So first let us try to understand how to calculate the sigma V naught. So here it can be calculated at the middle of the each layer. At the middle of the each layer. So which is nothing but 2 into 19, that is this layer 2 into 19, 2 into 19, and that is above the groundwater table. So we can take the gamma dry as gamma dry. Gamma dry. And the middle of the layer number 2. So middle of the layer number 2, sigma naught dash. So middle means 3 meter. Middle means 3 meter. 3 multiplied by, since this is below the water table, then 3 multiplied by 20 minus 10. 3 multiplied by 20 minus 10. So this is how you will obtain initial effective overburden pressure at the middle of the each layer. At the middle of the layer number 1, effectively. At the middle of the layer number 1. So this is how you will calculate the sigma V naught dash. Next, you need to calculate increase in effective overburden pressure, that is delta sigma dash. Increase in effective overburden pressure, that is delta sigma dash. This delta sigma dash shall be at the middle of the layer number 1. Middle of layer number 1. So here you need to superimpose the same stress distribution, which is 150 kilopascals, at the middle of the layer number 1, that is at a depth of 3 meter. That is at a depth of 3 meter. So here it is 10 by 10. Then this will become 10 plus, I can assume the load distribution as 2 horizontal to 1 vertical. 2 horizontal to 1 vertical. So for calculation of the delta sigma, this is nothing but load by area. Sorry, stress upon, or sorry, load by area. Your delta sigma is nothing but load divided by the area. Load divided by the area. But here stress is given. The stress of 150 kilopascals has been given. So I can convert this stress into load simply by multiplying stress multiplied by the area. That is 150 multiplied by 10 multiplied by 10. That is footing size. This is the load. Then area. The area corresponding to at a depth of 3 meter. At a depth of 3 meter. So please let me know whether this, since this is a 3 meter, what would be the total width at a depth of 3 meter? Anybody can tell me? If we consider the load dispersion of 2 horizontal to 1 vertical.
Sir, 16 meter.
Total 16 meter.
Yes, sir.
Or 13 meter. Here it is 13 meter.
Sir, 16.
16.
One horizontal is to
Yes.
two vertical, sir. You need to take.
Okay. One horizontal to two vertical. Okay, okay. So then I'm sorry, you take one horizontal to two vertical. So then
Sir,
what you will get?
also, sir, I think for initial effective overburden stress, we have to take from foundation level, sir.
Yeah,
Don't-
no. It is not foundation level. It is from the ground surface to middle. See, initial means when there was no footing, what is the pressure at the middle of the clay layer 1? At the middle of the clay layer, that is at the depth of 3 plus 2, 5 meter. Because this 2 meter will not subjected to any foundation load. Only the 6 plus 6, 12 meter only subjected to the footing load. Only this 6 plus 6 will undergo the consolidation, not this 2 meter. Because this is above the foundation level. Soil above the foundation level will not undergo or will not experience any kind of stresses. Okay, so
Sir, but in soil mechanics course means we have to take from foundation, sir.
no. Initial means when there was no footing. When there was no footing. Say for example, if I take this point, so what is the initial effective overburden pressure? That's it. Sigma naught dash. What is the initial effective overburden pressure? Just imagine there was no footing. Only weight of the soil.
मैसेज भी होगा दिखा पाऊंगा
Weight of the soil.
तो यार ये पूरा कंफ्यूज कर दिया इसने तो यार और भानु ने वहां से ले रखा था फाउंडेशन तभी उसको पूरे नंबर मिले समझा ये देख
Yes, please. Still any confusion? Okay, so then take or calculate delta sigma at the middle of the clay layer, that is 6 divided by 2, 3 meter. So effectively it becomes 3 plus 2, 5 meter from the ground surface, but 3 meter from the foundation level. 3 meter from the foundation level. So calculate delta sigma, that is load by area. So here the total width, if you take one horizontal to two vertical, then it will become 10 plus 3, that is 13 meter. 13 meter in one direction and 13 meter in another direction. So 13 multiplied by 13. So what you get is 88.8 kilopascal. 88.8 kilopascal. Okay. So next
How
step is,
13?
yeah, tell me, what is your question? No problem.
Sir, how you got that width 13, sir? It is 16, sir. If it is 45 degrees, sir.
See, suppose say you take here one horizontal to two vertical. What will be the additional width on each side?
1.5.
1.5 plus 1.5, 3 na?
Okay, sir. One horizontal. Okay, sir.
Okay, no problem. Yeah.
Is it like always two vertical to one horizontal, or it can be like two horizontal to one vertical, sir?
It could be anything. In general, if nothing is mentioned, you can take one horizontal to two vertical.
Okay. Or sir, we
Okay.
can like
Sir, but
in paper, sir, we can
you
write
mentioned
now,
we have
like we are assuming
5
that.
degrees.
Yes. You can take 1:1. You can take 1:2. You can take 2:2. Anything is valid. Absolutely no problem.
Okay.
Okay. So calculate the delta sigma. Once delta sigma is known, then the final stress will be calculated as the summation of 68 plus 88. 68 is the weight of the soil exclusively at the middle of the clay layer 1 or at a depth of 3 meter below the foundation level. Then 88 is the additional load because of the construction of the footing. So therefore the final load at a depth of 3 meter below the foundation level is 68 plus 88, that is 156.8 kilopascal. This is the final stress. But we need that sigma, what is the value? Yeah, now everything is known. Everything is known. So the over consolidation, the sigma c value. So how do you get the sigma c value? This is an over consolidated clay. So this is an over consolidated clay. Over consolidation ratio is defined as this one: sigma c by sigma v naught dash. Sigma c by sigma v naught dash. So which is 80 divided by 668 is sigma c is 80. As this value given?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If sigma c is given, sigma c is 80 kilopascal and sigma v naught is 68 that we have calculated. Delta sigma we calculated as 88. So substitute everything into this consolidation equation and calculate for the consolidation settlement. So that is 15.8 centimeter. 15.8 centimeter. Now try to understand. When I say or when I use this equation in your consolidation chapter, you also dealt with time rate of settlement. Time rate of settlement. But here nowhere in this equation the time rate is involved or included. So that means whatever this 15.8 settlement is there, it is called as a final consolidation settlement. Final consolidation settlement. With respect to this one can able to calculate what would be the settlement in between any time for any degree of consolidation. You can go back to your consolidation theory now. Okay, but this completes only the layer number 1. Only the layer number 1. But what about the consolidation by the layer number 2? So that you need to calculate again. So this is for layer number 2. This is for layer number 2. So layer number 2 means at the middle of the clay layer 2. So the total depth from the foundation level is 6 plus 3, 9 meter. 9 meter. But from the ground surface, the total depth is 11 meter. The total depth is 11 meter. From the ground surface, it is 11 meter. From the foundation level, it is 9 meter. It is 9 meter. So first your step is calculate initial effective overburden pressure when footing was not constructed. When footing was not constructed. So that is 2 into 19. 2 into 19 layer number that is above the water table, and 6 into 20 minus 6 into 20 minus 10 because this layer is below the groundwater table, and middle of the layer number 2, that is 3 into 20 minus 10. So if you calculate total, it comes out to be 128 kilopascal. 128 kilopascal. Okay, so this is how you need to calculate the initial effective overburden pressure at the middle of the layer number 2. Similarly, the value of delta sigma will also be different at middle of the clay layer number 2. So again you need to redraw the distribution of this load. So distribution of this load. So again try to calculate what is the width at the middle of the clay layer number 2. So following the load distribution of I think one horizontal to two vertical, one horizontal to two vertical. So this will become 9 total. So because the from here to here it is 9 meter. From here to here it is 9 meter. So this will become 10 plus 9 meter. The total width is 10 plus 9 meter in one direction, and 10 plus 9 in another direction. 10 plus 9 in another direction. So here what would be the load or delta sigma? Delta sigma. This is again load divided by the area. Load divided by the area. The load here is 150 multiplied by 10 by 10 divided by this is the area. This is the area. So this is the area. So what you get is 41.6 kilopascal. So it is obvious if you compare the delta sigma, that is increase in effective overburden pressure at middle of the clay layer 1 and middle of the clay layer 2, it should be decreasing further, because as there is a more and more distribution of the load or wider area. Earlier it was distributed over 10 plus 3 meter. Now it is distributing over an area of 10 plus 9, 19 meter by 19 meter. So obviously the stress intensity will decrease. So that is 41.6. And the final stress is sigma v is sigma f dash is initial plus delta sigma 128 plus 41.6, that is 169.6 kilopascals. So put these in the equation. So that is what do you call it? Cc by 1 plus E naught into H into log that is sigma f by sigma naught, sigma f by sigma naught. So this is the equation. So Cc by 1 plus E naught into H log sigma dash by sigma c, sigma dash sigma f dash by sigma c dash. Okay, but here one of the important steps that you need to understand is, just try to understand. So we have calculated the sigma v naught dash, delta sigma and sigma f dash. So this is important statement. Among the two terms which are included in the SC1D equation, do we need to use both together or only one? That will be decided based on the over consolidation ratio. Over consolidation ratio. Suppose if you look at this statement, so the given soil is a over consolidated clay, which is defined as sigma c dash by sigma naught dash. So here that is 80 divided by 68. So this obviously greater than 1. That means it is an over consolidated soil. And the final stress, that is sigma dash f, is greater than sigma c dash. The final stress is greater than the pre-consolidation pressure. So therefore we should use both CR and CC in consolidation settlement calculation. That means you have to use both these bilinear equations. While in the second case, the final stress sigma dash is less than sigma c. So therefore we should use only the sigma r in consolidation settlement equation. So So then once it is calculated, so sum it up, layer 1 and layer 2. So for layer 1 it is 15.8 centimeter, and for layer 2 it is 1.4 centimeter. So summation is 15.9 plus 1.4, that is 17.3 centimeter. And this is for 1D settlement. Suppose if you want to do it for 3D consolidation, corrected settlement for 3D consolidation, simply multiply 17.3 into a correction factor mu, which is given as 0.7. So it will be 12.1 centimeter. 12.1 centimeter.
Sir.
Yep.
Sir, in this we have to calculate the consolidation settlement. Sir, if we were to calculate immediate settlement, can we also transfer the load as you have transferred in this case, sir? Because you have given a previous example like this, sir, where there were 2 layers and we have to do it independently and then subtract the...
No. The previous immediate settlement equation is valid only for the cohesive soil. Okay, so let me take you to the very first. Where it is? Yeah. Since you are asking, see, this is the equation for calculating the immediate settlement in cohesive soil. SI is equal to QBI into 1 minus mu square by PS. This is valid for cohesive soil. So this equation you can use for calculating the immediate settlement in the present sum. Okay, or alternatively you can use this equation also, that is SE is equals to mu1 mu2 into QB by ES, because this equation also valid for cohesive soil, that is clay. So these two equations can be used to calculate the elastic settlement in clayey soils. On the other hand, suppose if you want to calculate the immediate settlement in cohesion-less soil, then this equation shall be used. So now,
No,
is it?
sir, I mean to say that, sir, in there was one example where we have to calculate the elastic settlement, and there were 2 layers of.
There were 2
We
layers.
haven't.
Okay. But this is that sum. Yeah. This is that sum.
Yes, sir, that 45. Yes, sir, this one, sir.
Yeah. Same principle you have to follow. Same principle.
But in this, sir, we haven't, sir, transferred the load, sir. We have calculated we have assumed this is for 13.5 centimeter. Then we have calculated like this, and then at last we have subtracted.
That is true, because in this equation, as such, there was no dispersion of the load at that particular middle of the layer. In other way around, I can make you understand like this. When we calculate the elastic settlement using this equation, so it is considered the whole layer as settling. Okay, whole layer as a settling. But when we say the consolidation settlement, it is happening majorly at the middle. That's why we take at the middle of the each layer.
No, sir, but I mean to say that in this equation also, in this question also, we assume that the load is transferred for first we have to calculate the settlement for that EU is equal to 45. Then we transfer the load in that area, and again we find the new Q, and again we can calculate for that EU is equal to 80 centimeters.
I guess yes, we can do it.
I mean to say this, no, sir.
No problem. We can do it.
Like you have transferred the load, sir.
Seen,
can we transfer?
But I haven't seen any such cases. But still you can do it. You can do it. There's no harm. But by doing so, you will underestimate the elastic settlement.
So this is I am not understanding how we are estimating it.
Say for example, in this equation, let us take this example only. If I take 200 as 200 for layer 1 and layer 2, so you will get higher settlement. But suppose if you distribute it then the 200 will be reduced to 100 or 150. Then you are underestimating the elastic settlement. Underestimating means you are it will be lower only. You got my point, or not?
Yes, a little bit I'm getting.
See, for example, in all the three layers here, we are say for example, here we use 200. In layer 2, we did use 200. For layer 1, 200, layer 2, 200. As per your analogy, if I take at the middle of the layer, then instead of the 200, I have to take maybe 180. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And instead of 200 in layer number 2, I might have to take around 120 or something. That means you will still underestimate the elastic settlement. So that may be one of the reasons they did not consider this load distribution. And in case of the consolidation, there are two terms are involved. One is what would be the stress at that point before construction of the footing, and what would be the additional stress due to the construction of the footing. So both are accounted for. Okay, so let us note down another sum on settlement calculation. So a plan of a foundation 1 meter by 2 meter is shown in figure. This is figure 7.23. Estimate the consolidation settlement of foundation taking into account the three-dimensional effect given A is equal to 0.6. So here also everything has been given. Depth of the footing is 1 meter. Size of the footing is 1 meter by 2 meter. The net stress at the foundation level is 150 kilopascals. The above layer is a sand, and the groundwater table is at a depth of 2.5 meter. And below the groundwater table, there exists sand again up to a depth of 0.5 meter. And below the sand, there is a normally consolidated clay. So the properties of this soil has been given. Gamma, ES, μS, CS, CE, the initial void ratio, everything has been given. So please note down. And try to solve it as per the analogy that is explained in the previous sum. So in the previous sum it was over consolidated clay, but in this sum it is normally consolidated clay. So here you don't need to bother about two number of layers. In sand there is no consolidation. So the consolidation can happen only in the clay layer. So therefore you can take the middle point of 2.5 meter thick as a reference point. So can anybody tell me the equation for normally consolidated soil, equation for settlement calculation?
That is CCSC divided by 1 plus E naught log of E final upon E initial. Or sigma final upon sigma initial.
No, that is for over consolidated. Nah?
So normally consolidated.
For normally consolidated, CC by 1 plus E naught into H into log sigma naught dash divided by sigma naught dash plus delta sigma by sigma naught dash.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I can show you. This is a normally consolidated soil. So this is E versus log sigma. E versus log sigma. So this is a single graph, single linear line. So this is sigma naught dash, and this is sigma naught plus delta sigma. Sigma naught plus delta sigma. So the slope is nothing but Cc, compression index, in case of the normally consolidated soil. So your equation is Sc one dimensional is nothing but Cc divided by 1 plus E naught into H into so log the difference dy. So that is sigma naught dash plus delta sigma divided by so sigma naught dash. So this is the equation for calculating the consolidation settlement of normally consolidated clay. Okay, so here what is the H value?
.5, sir.
Exactly, H is 2.5. H is nothing but 2.5. And E naught is given, that is 0.8, and Cc has been given, that is 0.32, and sigma naught you need to calculate. How do you calculate the sigma naught? Sigma naught is initial effective overburden pressure at the middle of the clay layer, sigma naught dash. Initial effective overburden pressure at the middle of the clay layer before construction of the footing. Before construction of the footing. And next, sigma naught dash. So sigma naught dash. So this is sigma naught dash. Delta sigma. Delta sigma is nothing but increase in overburden pressure at the middle of the clay layer after construction of the footing. After construction of the footing. So this is delta sigma. This is delta sigma. Again, you can follow the principle of 2 vertical to 1 horizontal. 2 vertical to 1 horizontal. So regarding the load distribution, please pay particular attention in the exam. So it may be given sometimes 1:1 load distribution, or this 2:1 load distribution, or 2:2 load distribution, whatever it is. So accordingly, your width varies. Okay, so you have to pay little attention to that one. If nothing is mentioned, you can assume any value, any load distribution. Typically, we follow 2 vertical to 1 horizontal. I hope everybody has noted down. Can I go to the next slide? Can I go to the next slide?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I have also given an option to ask the questions in local language, either Hindi or Telugu. Nobody is asking any question. Okay, so you can understand now how to calculate different parameters. The clay is normally consolidated. So this is the governing consolidation equation so under the principle of one-dimensional consolidation. Cc into H divided by 1 plus E naught into log sigma naught dash plus delta sigma by sigma naught dash. So here it has been shown how to calculate the sigma naught dash, that is initial effective overburden pressure. So first is 2.5 by 16.5. So here it is, this layer has been taken. So 2.5 by 16.5. Since this is above the water table, 16.5 into 2.5, no problem. Now another 0.5 meter thick sand layer is below the water table. So therefore we need to take submerged unit weight. So submerged unit weight. So this is taken as submerged unit weight. And the last one is 2.5 divided by 2, that is 1.25. And since this is also below the water table, 16 minus 9.81. 16 minus 9.81, that is 1.25 multiplied by 16.9, submerged unit weight. So total is 41.25 plus 3.85 plus 7.0, so 52.84 kilopascals. So this is total weight of the soil, at the middle of the clay layer before construction of the footing. I hope this part is quite clear to everyone. There is nothing great. So this is simple fundamental from your soil mechanics. The next step is how to calculate delta sigma average. So delta sigma average, yeah. So here we follow the load distribution of 2:1 method. So load distribution of 2:1. So this is 2 vertical to 1 horizontal. 2 vertical to 1 horizontal. In fact, this sum I would have shown before the previous sum. So no problem. Now we can understand how it will be done. So initially the stress is at the foundation level, which is Q naught, which is spreading on over an area of B by N. Now since we have to calculate at the middle of the layer, so at the middle of the layer, clay layer, then we assume a stress distribution that is approximately 2 vertical to 1 horizontal. 2 vertical to 1 horizontal. So when you draw the free body diagram, so this is how it looks like. If B is width of the footing right beneath the foundation level or at the foundation level, now at the depth of or at the middle of the clay layer, this becomes B plus Z. B plus Z. Now again, this B plus Z is exclusively valued if we consider 2 vertical to 1 horizontal. 2 vertical to 1 horizontal. Now suppose if I consider 1 horizontal to 1 vertical, can anybody tell me what is B plus instead of B plus Z? Instead
That
of
would 2Z.
So this will become B plus
2Z.
B plus 2Z. So B plus 2Z. Okay, remember everyone. So if I consider 2 vertical to 1 horizontal, the effective width at the middle of the clay layer becomes B plus Z. B plus Z. In fact, it is, it can be said like this. This is Z by 2 and this is B. This is B and this is another Z by 2. Another Z by 2 for a load distribution of 2 vertical to 1 horizontal. If it is 1:1, then this will become Z plus B plus Z. So therefore it is B plus 2Z. B plus 2Z.
Sir, can we take different ratio in breadth and length direction, sir?
No, that is not possible. That is not valid. You have to take the same load distribution both in length and width direction.
Okay.
And this is the equation for calculating the delta sigma. That is load upon area. Load upon area. So this is delta sigma. Load upon area. Here Q naught is a stress. Stress is converted into load by multiplying the width and length by whole area again. So this is the load at this point and this is the area at this point. Okay, if it is not clear to anyone, please ask me. Okay, so this is what we assumed delta sigma. In some of the books, so instead of directly calculating the sigma dash at middle, so for more accuracy, you may sometimes consider another equation. This is called as a, I don't know, there is a particular name to this one. Don't remember exactly, but you can also use this formula. Thus, delta sigma average is nothing but 1 upon 6 multiplied by delta sigma at top of the layer. This is top of the layer. This is top, and 4 times of sigma m, that is the middle, and bottom. So you calculate delta sigma at the top, delta sigma at the middle, and delta sigma at the bottom. Use this equation to calculate the delta sigma average. Delta sigma average.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, can you please allow Ratna Shaili, sir? Due to poor network connection, she lost her connection. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So either you can follow the previous sum where you can directly calculate the delta sigma based on 2:1 load distribution at the middle of the layer 1, or alternatively you can also use this equation. Delta sigma average is nothing but 1 by 6 into delta sigma at top plus 4 times of delta sigma at middle plus delta sigma at bottom. Delta sigma at bottom. So for your convenience, the delta at top, so delta at top, yeah, and delta at middle and delta at bottom has been given. Delta at top 1.5 plus 0.5, 2 meter. Delta at middle, so 2 plus 2.5 by 2, that is 3.25. So Z at the bottom of the layer is 4.5 meter. Then similarly, you can calculate delta sigma. If you can calculate, these are the values. If you calculate delta sigma at top is 28.5, middle is 12.75, and bottom is 6.75. There is a huge variation. So try to calculate yourself. So delta sigma average is 1 by 6 into delta sigma top 28.5 plus 4 into middle 12.75 plus bottom 6.5. So the average comes out to be 14.38. 14.38. And suppose if you take at the middle directly, it is 12.75. So hardly there is a 1.5 kilopascals difference. But when you use this rule, this is a more accurate. And this 2:1 distribution is somewhat, no, there is no 2:1 distribution. If you take only single value at the middle directly, that is somewhat approximation, and this is the more accurate method of calculating the delta sigma average. Okay, so try to calculate delta sigma separately at the top of the clay layer, at the middle of the clay layer, and at the bottom of the clay layer, so that you will better understand. And using that empirical equation, so calculate the average value, delta sigma average. So once all the parameters are calculated, then substitute directly into the consolidation equation, that is Cc into H by 1 plus E naught into log sigma naught dash plus delta sigma.
Sir, what is written here? Delta sigma dash equals to Q naught LCB. What is mean by that?
This LC, no, this is IC, is nothing but influence factor, but you ignore it. It is not required as such.
Sir, but at Z equals to 2, I am getting 25, sir, delta as delta sigma.
Okay, no issue, because here they are using this multiplication of Q naught multiplied by IC.
Okay, sir.
Okay, that influence factor we don't know. So actually,
Sir,
whatever, yeah.
their delta sigma means should we not take that 1 meters above the footing, sir?
No, but delta sigma we will not consider at 1 meter.
Then it is coming 28.5 only, sir.
Then why you got different value? I think he is taking from the ground surface.
Yes, sir, he may take from ground.
No, but that is not correct. Because above 1 meter or within this 1 meter, there was no stress. Na?
No, sir, I am getting, sir, 25 from the foundation level only, sir.
Achha. Okay. So others, could you please confirm? 28 or 25? No problem. 25.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, 25.
Okay. So everybody is getting 25. So let us stick to the 25. So one important thing is that shallow foundation itself is a very vast subject. It's supposed to be covered for one entire semester. What we are covering is only the fraction of it. So because you are an undergraduate student, so only fraction of it is covered. Truly speaking, the settlement calculation itself is, there are two different chapters. There is another chapter called as a stress distribution that exclusively deals with how to calculate only delta sigma dash. There are theories like Bosnis theory, Westergaard theory, Newmark chart. There are different theories are available. See, for example, here, when I calculate the delta sigma, I am calculating or making an inherent assumption that the delta sigma is uniform at the middle of the clay layer. So throughout the width of the footing. But in reality, it is not the case. In reality, it is not the case. Because if you recall the very first classes where we have talked about the stress distribution, in case of the clay, it is maximum at the ends, minimum at the center. In case of the sand, it is maximum at the ends, minimum at the center, something reverse. Okay. Then uh, uh, see, for example, if you take this one, what would be the stress at the middle or at the corner? This is called as at the corner. So the stress cannot be remained same at the middle as well as at the corner. It's supposed to be different value. But here there is an inherent assumption that it is remained same, which is not the case. And moreover, suppose say the stress is also further distributed even behind the footing. Say for example at this location. How to calculate the stress at this location, which is both in vertical direction as well as in the lateral direction. Okay. So there is a separate chapter to calculate the stress right beneath the footing, at the center, at the corner and outside the footing. At the center, at the corner, outside the footing. Okay. And again, say for example, since we are dealing with the footing, this is a little uniform distributed load. We can say UDL over a length of 1 meter or 2 meter. But what if the load is a point load? Point load. What if the load is a line load? What if the load is a line load? And there are other varieties of loads also. Could be a point load, uniformly distributed load, line load, or variable load. Variable load in a sense, say my load is not remained same. So I have a triangular distribution of the load. I have a triangular distribution of the load. These are all practical realities. Okay, you have to understand practical realities. So if this is the load distribution, then how the load at the center and at the edges and outside the footing varies. How to calculate? Okay, so there is a separate chapter that deals with calculation of all these things, that is called as a stress distribution. So these calculations are highly simplified version of all these chapters. I don't know whether I will get a sufficient time or not to discuss about all these things, because still we need to cover the pile foundation and retaining walls. We are still at shallow foundations. But anyhow, no problem. So I have covered as elaborately as possible. Only few things were left out in shallow foundation. For example, we did not attempt how to calculate the bearing capacity. In fact, a lot of things are there. How to calculate the bearing capacity? If there is eccentricity exists in both the directions, both width and length direction, then how to calculate the bearing capacity if the footing is not on the leveled ground but on the sloping surface, or if the footing exists on tilting ground where the base is tilted, or on the surface, or on the rock, so on and so forth. There are several conditions. Okay, so we don't have that much amount of time to elaborately talk about how to calculate only shallow foundation, because you are an undergraduate student, so you need to have a little understanding about other foundation systems also. So this is what all about the settlement calculation or settlement analysis. Suppose if you refer to, I request you all to refer to as many number of foundation engineering books as possible. In some of the books, you may find little deviation than what I taught. So don't get distracted or deviated. You are still welcome to use those methods as well, because some of the methods might have been refined or improved, or some of the methods might have been modified. Okay, so don't think that whatever we are discussing is wrong and whatever that they have told is correct. There is nothing like that. Okay, and there are more than half a dozen or dozen methods are available for calculating only the elastic settlement, but of course we have covered almost everything of the consolidation settlement. So I'm not discussing about all those things because you need to remember a lot of equations, so which I don't want, because you need to understand fundamentally what is elastic settlement and how or what kind of equations are used. So the fundamentals are more important than merely aware about the empirical equations available in the course. So if you know what is elastic settlement, what is consolidation settlement fundamentally, then equation is immaterial. You know how to use the equations. Okay. So I will stop it here only.
Sir, in mid-sem, up to this class, the syllabus there.
Yes. For the mid-sem up to this class. Again, I repeat, for mid-sem, few of the things I told you need to remember. Those things, like you need to remember equations and shape factor, depth factor, inclination factors. Because that is only the thing involved in the bearing capacity. Otherwise, there is nothing. And like bearing capacity factors NC, NQ, and gamma, the values will be given in the exam. So the equations corresponding to NC, NQ, and gamma, you don't need to remember. The values will be given. But shape factor, depth factor, you need to remember all those equations. Okay, so still we have a 10 more minutes. If you want to ask any question, you are most welcome.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, I sent you a personal message, sir, in Teams only.
Let's do this. Okay, no problem. Okay, so any other questions or doubts about the shallow foundation? So your question paper exam, that question paper pattern is, there are two sections. One section is essay type of the questions. Another section is kind of a statement in the form of justification or elaboration. Okay, so half the question paper is about justification of the statement, and half the question paper is about objective type questions. Those are the big questions. So you need to understand about the theory part also. Okay, so don't remain confined to only problem solving. But those questions are very small questions, 1 mark or 2 mark. But it is something like,
Hello, sir.
yes.
Sir, there will be step marking or not, sir? Like in the earlier questions were a little bit, sir. Like